I should have noticed the perfume first. Not the one I bought her for our anniversary. The vanilla and bergamot blend she said reminded her of our honeymoon in Charleston. But something sharper, more assertive. Something that didn't belong in our bedroom at 7 in the morning while I packed my laptop for a client meeting in Denver. Sarah stood in the bathroom doorway wearing my old college t-shirt, the Michigan one with the faded Wolverine, and I remember thinking how young she looked with her hair still messy from sleep. 29 and still looking like the grad student I'd met at that insufferable poetry reading 6 years ago. The one where I'd only gone because my friend Marcus insisted the free wine was worth the pretentious verse. "You're going to miss Jamie's party Friday," she said, not quite meeting my eyes in the mirror. "I'll be back Thursday night," I told her. "Wouldn't miss it. You know how Jamie gets when people bail on his birthday." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. I noticed that. I did. But I told myself it was just the early hour, just the fact that I'd been traveling too much lately, just the normal erosion that happens when you've been married 4 years and together for 6. Comfort, I thought, breeds a certain kind of fatigue. That's what I told myself while I kissed her forehead and grabbed my keys from the bowl on the kitchen counter. The ceramic one her mother made. The one with the uneven glaze that always reminded me of dried blood. The Denver meeting was a disaster. 3 days of watching a tech startup founder slowly realize his revolutionary app was just Uber for dog walkers with worse UI. I sat in their glass-walled conference room overlooking the mountains and thought about Sarah, about how distant she'd seemed lately. Not cold, exactly. Just occupied. Like she was doing complex math in her head while we watched Netflix, while we ate dinner, while we made love with the lights off and her face turned toward the window. I called her Tuesday night from my hotel room. She answered on the 4th ring. "Hey, baby. Bad time." "No, no. Just finishing up some work." She was a freelance graphic designer, which meant her schedule was flexible and her workspace was the spare bedroom we'd converted into her studio. "How's Colorado?" "Monta y griega." "The client's an idiot, but the money's good." "You doing okay?" A pause. "Too long." "Yeah, of course. Why wouldn't I be?" "No reason. You sound tired." "Just been busy. Got 3 projects due next week." Her voice brightened artificially, like someone had flipped a switch. "Hey, I picked up your suit from the dry cleaners for Friday. The navy one." "You didn't have to do that." "I wanted to. You'll look handsome." Another pause. "I should go. Love you." She hung up before I could say it back. I stared at my phone for a long time, at the photo I'd set as her contact. Sarah laughing on the beach in Tybee Island, sand in her dark hair, the ocean behind her looking impossibly blue. When had I stopped really looking at her? When had we stopped being the couple who'd talk for hours about nothing, who'd drive to the lake at midnight just to see the stars? Thursday night, I caught an earlier flight. Didn't tell her, wanted to surprise her with takeout from that Thai place she loved, the one near the community college where she taught part-time design courses. I Ubered from SeaTac around 10 p.m. The driver a chatty guy from somewhere in Eastern Europe who wanted to talk about American politics. I made the appropriate noises while watching Seattle's lights blur past, that familiar anticipation building in my chest. Maybe we could reconnect this weekend. Maybe I'd been overthinking everything. The house was dark when I got home. Our little Craftsman in Ballard. The one we'd bought 2 years ago with help from my parents and a crushing mortgage. Sarah's Civic was in the driveway. I used my key quietly, thinking maybe she'd fallen asleep on the couch watching one of her Korean dramas. She wasn't in the living room, wasn't in the kitchen. The house had that particular quality of emptiness that you can feel in your bones, but her car was here and her phone. I could see it charging on the kitchen counter next to her laptop, which was open, screen dark but not closed. Sarah always closed her laptop. Always. It was one of her quirks, born from some paranoia about dust getting into the keyboard. I stood there for a moment, holding the bag of Thai food like an idiot, and that's when I heard it. Water running upstairs. The shower. Of course. She was just in the shower. I felt stupid for the spike of adrenaline, for the sudden certainty that something was wrong. But that perfume smell was stronger now. And there was something else. A sound underneath the water. Not singing. Sarah sang in the shower, always off-key, usually songs from musicals I'd never seen. This was talking. She was talking to someone. I set down the food very carefully and moved to the stairs. Each step creaked. We kept meaning to fix that, kept putting it on the endless list of home repairs we never quite got around to. The bathroom door was closed but not locked. I could hear her voice clearly now. "Can't believe you said that to him." A laugh, breathy and intimate. "No, he won't be back until tomorrow night. I told you." A pause. "Stop, you're terrible." Another laugh, different this time. Softer. "I wish you were here right now." I stood outside the bathroom door for probably 30 seconds, though it felt like 30 years. The man I'd been when I climbed those stairs died somewhere around the 15th step. The man standing there now was someone new. Someone who existed in a universe where his wife was in the shower talking to someone who wasn't him in a voice she hadn't used with him in months. Maybe longer. I turned around and walked back downstairs. Got in my car. Drove to Marcus's apartment in Capitol Hill and knocked on his door at 11 p.m. He answered in boxers and a Seahawks jersey, took one look at my face, and let me in without a word. "She's cheating on me," I said, just like that. No preamble. No build-up. Marcus, who'd been my best friend since sophomore year of college, who'd been my best man at the wedding, who'd told me more than once that Sarah was too good for your analytical ass, just nodded slowly. "You sure?" She was in the shower on a video call with someone, laughing, saying she wished he was there. "Could be." "Don't." I held up my hand. "Don't try to explain it away. I know what I heard." He made me coffee. We sat on his ratty couch, the same one he'd had since college, covered in stains of mysterious origin, and he asked me what I was going to do. I told him I didn't know. He asked if I wanted to stay there. I said yes. I called in sick Friday morning. Texted Sarah that I'd caught something in Denver, and the client was insisting I stay until the contract was finalized. She responded with a sad face emoji and said she hoped I felt better. Asked if I'd still make it back for Jamie's party that night. I told her probably not, sorry. Tell Jamie I'd make it up to him. Her response came fast. "He'll understand. Love you. Feel better soon, red heart." I stared at that heart emoji for a long time. Marcus had to work. He was an ER nurse at Harborview, pulling a 12-hour shift. So I spent the day in his apartment doing the thing I'd sworn I'd never do. I became that person. The one who goes through their spouse's digital life looking for proof of what they already know. Sarah had left her laptop open. Sarah never left her laptop open. And suddenly I understood. She hadn't forgotten. She'd left it for me. Some part of her wanted me to know. Some part of her was tired of the deception. I drove back to the house around noon. Let myself in quietly, though I knew she was at the community college teaching her Friday afternoon class. Picked up her laptop from the kitchen counter. No password on the lock screen. It had timed out but not gone to sleep. Just like she'd left it. Her email was open. Her Facebook messages. Her Instagram DMs. All of it, just sitting there like an invitation to my own destruction. I made myself a sandwich first. Turkey and Swiss on the bread she'd bought from that expensive bakery she liked. I ate it standing at the counter, tasting nothing, and then I sat down and started reading. The emails went back 4 months. His name was Derek. He worked at the marketing firm where Sarah had done some freelance work last spring. The early messages were professional, then friendly, then not. I won't detail everything I found. Some degradations are too personal to share, even anonymously. But by 3 p.m. I had learned several things. Derek was 34, divorced, no kids. He had a sailboat. He wrote Sarah poetry. Bad poetry, the kind that rhymes desire with fire and thinks that's profound. He'd taken her to the San Juan Islands 3 weeks ago while I was in Portland for a conference. They'd stayed at a bed and breakfast in Friday Harbor. She told me she was visiting her college roommate in Spokane. He'd bought her that new perfume, the sharp one, the one that smelled like someone else's wife. He called her Sarbear. I called her that once early in our relationship. She told me she hated it, that her father had called her that and he'd abandoned the family when she was 12. I'd never used it again. Apparently she'd lied about hating it. And he was going to be at Jamie's party tonight. Because Derek knew Jamie. Derek had gone to high school with him. Small world. Sarah had written in one message. I guess this was meant to happen. Sparkles. I closed the laptop very carefully, put it back exactly where I'd found it, went upstairs to our bedroom and opened her closet. The dress she'd bought last week was hanging there, tags still on. A black cocktail dress from Nordstrom, more expensive than she usually bought, more daring. She told me it was for a client dinner next month. I took a photo of the price tag with my phone. $347. Then I went to the guest room and lay down on the bed and stared at the ceiling for 2 hours. Around 5 p.m. I texted Sarah. Feeling better. Client stuff wrapped up early. I'll make it home in time for the party. See you soon, Red Heart. 3 dots appeared immediately, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, that's great, baby. Can't wait to see you. I'll be ready by 7. I drove to Marcus's place, showered, put on the navy suit Sarah had picked up from the dry cleaners. The one she wanted me to look handsome in. For what? For Derek? So he could see what she was betraying? So he could feel superior? Marcus tried one more time. Man, maybe you should just talk to her. Confront her before the party. No, I said. I want to see it. I want to see them together. That's just going to hurt more. Good, I said, and I meant it. I got home at 6:30. Sarah was in our bathroom doing her makeup, wearing a robe. When she saw me in the mirror, her face went through something I'd never seen before. A cascade of expressions in maybe 2 seconds. Shock, fear, confusion, and then finally a smile that didn't quite work. You made it. She turned, kissed me quickly. She was wearing the new perfume. I thought you were still in Denver. Got lucky. How do I look? I gestured at the suit. Handsome, she said, and there was something broken in her voice. Really handsome. You're not dressed yet. I will be. Just give me 20 minutes. I went downstairs and poured myself 3 fingers of the scotch her father had given us as a wedding present. The expensive stuff we were saving for a special occasion. I drank it standing at the kitchen window, looking out at our backyard where we'd planned to build a deck this summer, where we talked about our kids playing someday. When Sarah came down at 7:15, she was wearing the black dress. Her hair was up. She looked beautiful. She looked like a stranger. Wow, I said. Too much. No. Perfect. I held out my arm. Shall we? The party was at Jamie's place in Fremont, a renovated warehouse he'd bought with his tech money before the market exploded. Exposed brick, ridiculous ceilings, catered food from that farm-to-table place everyone pretended to like. 50 or 60 people, most of whom I knew at least peripherally. Jamie hugged me at the door, told me I looked like shit, asked if work was killing me. I told him something non-committal and watched Sarah over his shoulder. She was scanning the crowd, her champagne glass already empty, though we'd only been there 90 seconds. I saw him before she did. Derek. He was exactly what I'd expected. Tall, good hair, wearing a suit that fit better than mine, talking to a group by the windows. Not traditionally handsome but confident in that way that reads as attractive. The kind of guy who sails and knows wine regions and probably does CrossFit. Sarah saw him maybe 10 seconds after I did. Her whole body changed, posture, breathing, everything. She touched my arm. I'm going to say hi to some people from the design community. That okay? Of course. I'll be at the bar. I watched her cross the room. Watched Derek's face when he saw her. Watched them hug. Too long, his hand on her lower back, her laugh at something he said. Watched them settle into conversation while I ordered a bourbon and made small talk with Jamie's boyfriend about their upcoming trip to Japan. For the next hour, I circulated. I was charming. I told work stories. I laughed at jokes. I refilled my drink. And I watched. They were careful. They didn't stand too close. They talked to other people, never just the two of them for too long. But I saw the glances. The way she angled her body toward him across the room. The way he found reasons to be near her. The way they both checked their phones at the same time and smiled. Around 9 p.m., I was talking to Marcus. He'd shown up late, still in scrubs, looking at me with worried eyes. When I saw them step out onto the balcony together, I excused myself mid-sentence and followed. The balcony wrapped around the building, and they'd gone to the far corner, away from the other smokers and couples getting air. I stayed in the shadows by the door and listened. "Can't believe he's here," Derek was saying. "You said he was in Denver. He came back early. I don't know what to do. Maybe it's time to tell him." A long silence. Then Sarah's voice. So quiet I almost missed it. "I'm not ready. You said after the party. You promised." "I know what I said. I just... Seeing him tonight, in that suit." Her voice cracked. "He's a good man, Derek. He doesn't deserve this. But you don't love him anymore. That's not... It's not that simple." "It is that simple, Sarah. You love me. You said you love me."
Ido. God, Ido.
I stepped out of the shadows. "Well, this is cozy." Sarah spun around so fast she nearly dropped her champagne. Her face went white. Derek, to his credit, looked me straight in the eye. "I'm sorry, man," he said. "This isn't how." "How long?" I asked Sarah. Just Sarah. I couldn't look at him. "Mark." "How long?" "For months." Her voice was barely a whisper. "The San Juan Islands?" She closed her eyes. "You know." "Yeah, I know." I finished my bourbon. The bed and breakfast looked nice. Good reviews on TripAdvisor. "Jesus, Mark. Don't." I held up my hand. "Don't apologize. Don't explain. Don't. Just don't." Derek stepped forward. "Look, I know this is fucked up, but Sarah and I don't care what you and Sarah are," I said, surprised by how calm my voice was. "I really, truly don't give a fuck about your great love story. What I care about is that my wife has been lying to me for 4 months. What I care about is that she fucked someone else in a bed and breakfast while I was giving a presentation on database architecture to a room full of developers who could barely stay awake." "That's not fair," Sarah said, and now there were tears. "You're never home. You're always working, always traveling. When's the last time you really looked at me? When's the last time we talked about anything that mattered?" "Tuesday," I said, "when I called you from Denver and you were too busy fucking him to tell me the truth." Her hand flew to her mouth. Derek put his arm around her shoulders. "That's what did it. Not the affair. Not the lies. That gesture." His arm around my wife, comforting her, while I stood there holding an empty glass like an idiot. I turned and walked back inside. Through the party, people's faces blurring into noise and color. Jamie grabbed my arm, asked what was wrong. I said nothing, just needed air. Marcus was right behind me. "Keys," he said. "Give me your keys." "You're not driving." I gave him my keys. We sat in his car outside the warehouse for 20 minutes before Sarah came out. She stood on the sidewalk in that black dress, crying, and I rolled down the window. "We need to talk," she said. "No, we don't. Mark, please, let me explain." "Explain what? That you're in love with someone else? That our marriage is over?" I got it. Message received. "It's not. It's more complicated than that." "It really isn't." I looked at Marcus. "Can we go?" "Wait." Sarah grabbed the door handle. "Where are you going?" "Not your concern anymore. This is my car. Our car. Actually, it's my car. My name on the registration. But don't worry. I'm not that petty. Marcus can drop you back here to get it later." "You're being cruel." I laughed. Actually laughed. "I'm being cruel? That's amazing. That's genuinely amazing. I never meant to hurt you. But you did. Repeatedly. For 4 months. While I was out earning money for our mortgage. For the life you wanted. You were..." I stopped myself. "You know what? It doesn't matter. Go back to the party. Go back to Derek. I'm sure he'll be very understanding." "What are you going to do?" I looked at her then. Really looked at her. The woman I'd loved since I was 26 years old. The woman I'd married in a ceremony by the ocean. Who'd promised to forsake all others. Who'd cried during her vows because she said she couldn't believe someone like me would love someone like her. "I'm going to go home," I said. "I'm going to pack some things. And then I'm going to call a locksmith." Her face changed. "You're changing the locks?" "It's my house, Sarah. My parents helped with the down payment. My name is on the deed." You can't just kick me out. Actually, I can. Washington's a no-fault state, but the house is mine. Your car is in the driveway. Your stuff is inside. I'll give you until noon tomorrow to pack what you need. After that, anything left becomes kindling. You're insane. Maybe. But I'm done. I rolled up the window. Marcus drove. I stared out at Seattle's lights and thought about all the things I should have said. All the ways I should have fought for her. All the moments I'd missed when I could have saved us. But the truth was, there was no saving us. There never had been. She'd already decided. She'd chosen Derek with his sailboat and his bad poetry and his willingness to help her betray her marriage. And I'd been too blind, too trusting, too fucking naive to see it until I heard her laughing in the shower with him. We stopped at a 24-hour locksmith in West Seattle. The guy behind the counter looked half asleep until I explained what I needed. Then he perked up, clearly recognizing the drama. Need it tonight? He asked. Yeah. Double. Every lock in the house. He whistled. Gonna cost you. I don't care what it costs. Marcus and I went back to the house. It was almost midnight. Sarah's car was gone from the driveway. She must have gotten an Uber back for it. The house was dark and empty, and I stood in the kitchen where I'd eaten that tasteless sandwich earlier and felt nothing. Just a vast, expanding nothing where my marriage used to be. The locksmith showed up at 12:30 and worked until 2 a.m. New locks on both doors, new deadbolts, new everything. I paid him in cash. $800 I'd withdrawn from the ATM. Money that should have gone toward the deck we were planning to build. Marcus helped me drag Sarah's things out of the closet, out of the bathroom, out of every drawer and cabinet. We piled it all in the living room. Clothes, makeup, books, her laptop, her design supplies, everything. It made a substantial mountain, the physical evidence of 6 years of cohabitation. You sure about this? Marcus asked around 3 a.m. No, I said. But I'm doing it anyway. He left around 4. Told me to call him if I needed anything. Hugged me at the door in a way that made my chest hurt. I sat in my living room surrounded by Sarah's things and waited for dawn. Thought about all the ways I'd failed as a husband. All the trips I'd taken, all the late nights at work, all the times I'd been physically present but emotionally absent. Thought about whether I'd driven her to this, whether I was the villain in some version of this story I couldn't see. But then I thought about the lies, the calculated deceptions, the way she'd laughed with him while I was in another city trusting her, the way she'd fucked him in the San Juan Islands and then come home and kissed me with the same mouth. No, I wasn't the villain. I was just the idiot who'd believed in something that didn't exist anymore. Sarah came home at 7 a.m. I heard her key in the lock, heard it fail to turn, heard her try again, then knocking, then pounding. Mark, open the door. I opened it. She stood there in the black dress from the party, makeup smeared, hair falling down. She looked like she'd been crying all night. Part of me wanted to comfort her. Most of me wanted to slam the door in her face. Your things are in the living room, I said. Take what you can carry. The rest I'll have moved to your mother's place in Tacoma. You can't do this. I already did. Mark, please, let me explain. Let me. There's nothing to explain, Sarah. You made your choice. Now I'm making mine. I love you. I almost laughed. No, you don't. You love the idea of me. The security, the house, the life we built. But you don't love me. If you loved me, you wouldn't have fucked Derek in Friday Harbor while telling me you were in Spokane. She flinched. I made a mistake. 4 months isn't a mistake. It's a decision. We can get counseling. We can fix this. I don't want to fix it. I want you out of my house. Our house. My house. I corrected. Check the deed. Check the mortgage. My parents' money, my credit, my name. You're on nothing legal, Sarah. You're just someone who used to live here. I watched something die in her eyes then. The last hope, maybe. The last belief that she could talk her way out of this. That she could make me understand. That love would conquer betrayal through sheer force of tears. I never meant for it to go this far, she whispered. But it did. So now you get to live with that. You and Derek and his sailboat. I hope you're very happy together. Where am I supposed to go? That's not my problem anymore. She stood there for another minute, and I saw her calculating. Saw her running through arguments, manipulations, strategies. But she must have seen something in my face that told her there was no winning this. Fine, she said. Fine. I'll get my things. I held the door open. She walked past me and started gathering her clothes, shoving them into a suitcase she pulled from the pile. I watched her work with mechanical efficiency. This woman I'd loved. This stranger I'd married. The laptop too, I said. She froze. What? I read your emails. Your messages. All of it. Take the laptop because I can't stand to look at it. Red spread across her cheeks. You had no right. I had every right. You left it open. You wanted me to find out. Some part of you was too cowardly to tell me, so you left it like a breadcrumb trail for me to follow. That's not. Save it. Just take your shit and go. She packed in silence after that. 3 suitcases, 2 boxes of design supplies, her laptop bag. I helped her carry it all to her car, the Civic she'd bought before we got married, the one payment that was actually in her name. I'll have movers collect the rest next week, she said, not looking at me. Fine. Mark, don't. Whatever you're going to say, whatever closure you think you need, I don't want to hear it. She nodded, got in her car, sat there for a moment with her hands on the wheel, and I wondered if she was going to break down, if she was going to make one last plea. But she just started the engine and pulled out of the driveway. Drove away from the house we'd bought together, away from the life we'd built, away from the man who'd loved her and the future we'd imagined. I stood in the driveway in yesterday's suit and watched her taillights disappear around the corner. Then I went inside, locked the door with the new key, and started methodically erasing every trace of her from our home. 3 weeks later, Marcus came over with pizza and found me in what used to be Sarah's studio. I'd torn down all her design samples, stripped the walls bare, and was priming them white. Turning it into a home gym, I told him.
Jesus, Mann.
You look like shit. Thanks. You eating? Sometimes. Sleeping? Also sometimes. He sat on the floor and opened the pizza box. Sarah called me. I stopped painting. Yeah. She wanted to know how you were doing. Said you're not returning her calls. I blocked her number. She's worried about you. I laughed. A sound with no humor in it. That's touching. Tell her Derek can worry about me now. It's his job. She's not with Derek. The brush slipped in my hand, left a streak of white across the hardwood. What? They broke up. Week after you kicked her out. Apparently, he wasn't interested in the messy aftermath. Marcus made air quotes. His words, according to Sarah. I set down the brush very carefully. So he was good for an affair but not for actual commitment. What a shock. She's living with her mom in Tacoma, working at a Starbucks part-time while trying to get freelance clients. Good for her. Marcus. Don't tell me I should feel sorry for her. Don't tell me I should give her another chance. She made her choices. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, she's a person. A flawed person who fucked up massively, but still a person. And maybe, eventually, you'll want to talk to her about what happened. Why would I want that? Closure. I got my closure when I changed the locks. He sighed. You know what your problem is? You think cutting her out completely makes you strong. But it just makes you alone. I'd rather be alone than be a fool. You were never a fool for loving her. You were a fool for not seeing the problems before they exploded. I turned to look at him. You saw it, didn't you? You knew something was wrong. He didn't answer right away. I saw her pulling away, saw you both getting more distant. But I didn't know about Derek. I swear I didn't know. Would you have told me if you did? I don't know. I like to think I would have. But friendship's complicated when you're friends with both people. I went back to painting. White over the pale blue she'd chosen. White over the memories we'd made. White over everything. She said to tell you she's sorry, Marcus said quietly. For what it's worth. It's worth nothing. He left an hour later, taking half the pizza with him and leaving me with instructions to call him if I needed anything. I nodded and said I would, knowing I wouldn't. The divorce was finalized 4 months later. No fault, like I'd said. She didn't fight me on the house, didn't ask for alimony. Just wanted it over. Our lawyers did most of the talking. We saw each other once, at the final signing, and she looked thin and tired and sad. I felt nothing. That's the thing they don't tell you about betrayal. Eventually, you stop feeling the pain. You stop feeling anything for the person who hurt you. They become a character in a story you tell yourself, someone who used to matter but doesn't anymore. I sold the house 6 months after the divorce. Couldn't stand to live there anymore. Surrounded by the ghost of what we'd been. Bought a condo downtown, modern and cold and completely impersonal. Started dating a lawyer named Rebecca who made it clear from the start that she wasn't interested in anything serious. That worked for me. Marcus worries I'm broken. Maybe I am. Maybe that night on the balcony in Fremont broke something fundamental in me. Some capacity for trust or forgiveness or hope. Maybe I'll carry that forward into every relationship for the rest of my life. Always looking for the lie. Always waiting for the betrayal. Or maybe I'm just older now. Wiser. Less naive about the gap between what people promise and what they deliver. A year after the divorce, I ran into Jamie at a coffee shop in Ballard. He was with his boyfriend, the one who'd been worried about their Japan trip. They looked happy, comfortable, real. "How are you doing, man?" Jamie asked. "Good. Working a lot. You?" "Great. Hey, listen. I wanted to say, I'm sorry about the party. About what happened. I had no idea Derek was." "It's fine. Water under the bridge. Sarah asked about you last month. She's doing better, in case you wondered." I didn't. He looked uncomfortable. "Right. Well, good seeing you." I watched them leave. This happy couple with their easy affection and their intact trust. And I wondered what it felt like. To believe someone when they said they loved you. To go to sleep next to someone and not wonder who they were texting. To build a life with someone and not wait for it all to collapse. I don't think I'll ever have that again. I'll never know that either. And that might be the worst part. Not the cheating itself, but the not knowing. The eternal question of whether I could have prevented it, whether I was blind or whether she was just that good at hiding. Marcus says I'm too hard on myself. Rebecca says I'm too hard on everyone. My therapist, yes, I finally got one, says I'm avoiding the real work of forgiveness, not for Sarah's sake but for mine. They're probably all right. But knowing something intellectually and feeling it emotionally are two different countries separated by an ocean of rationalization and self-protection. Last month I drove past our old house in Ballard. New owners had painted it gray, added a modern garage door, ripped out the garden Sarah had planted. The craftsman charm was gone, replaced by something sleek and contemporary and utterly soulless. It looked like how I feel most days. I almost stopped. Almost knocked on the door to see the inside, to see what they'd done with the kitchen where I'd eaten that last sandwich, with the bathroom where I'd heard her laughing with him, with the bedroom where we'd made love and promises and plans for a future that would never arrive. But I kept driving. Because what would be the point? The house isn't ours anymore. The life isn't ours anymore. The people we were don't exist anymore. Sarah's on Instagram now. I found out by accident when Jamie's boyfriend tagged her in a photo from some design conference. She looks different. Shorter hair, new style, smile that doesn't quite reach her eyes. There's no Derek in her photos. No new boyfriend at all that I can see. Just her and her work and carefully curated shots of coffee cups and sunsets and inspirational quotes about resilience. I didn't follow her. Didn't like the photo. Didn't do anything except look for longer than I should have and then clear my browser history like I'd been viewing something shameful. Maybe that's what she is now. Something shameful. A chapter of my life I keep locked away, only taking it out late at night when I can't sleep and the condo feels too empty and Rebecca's made it clear she's not interested in sleepovers. Or maybe, and this is the thought that terrifies me most, maybe I'm the shameful one. The man who couldn't forgive, couldn't see past his own hurt, couldn't be big enough to understand that people are complicated and messy, and sometimes they fuck up in spectacular ways without being irredeemable monsters. My therapist would have a field day with that paragraph. Probably already is in his notes after our sessions. Subject demonstrates persistent splitting, inability to hold complexity, defensive intellectualization. All the fancy words for, this guy is damaged and doesn't know how to fix it. 3 years after the divorce, I'm 38 years old, successful in my career, financially stable and emotionally unavailable. I go to the gym 5 days a week. I have friends I see regularly. I date occasionally, though never seriously. I've built a life that looks good from the outside and feels hollow from the inside. And sometimes, in quiet moments, I wonder if Sarah feels the same way. If she's out there in Tacoma or wherever she ended up, living a parallel existence of surface-level functionality and deep-seated regret. If she ever drives past our old house. If she ever looks at that photo from our wedding, the one where we're cutting the cake and laughing, young and stupid and so fucking sure of forever, and feels the weight of what she destroyed. But mostly I don't think about her at all. That's the real victory, I tell myself. Indifference. The opposite of love isn't hate. It's not caring enough to feel anything. Except I do still care. Not about her, maybe, but about what happened. About the narrative of my life that includes this massive rupture. This before and after that divides everything into the naive man I was and the hardened man I became. Marcus got married last year. To a kindergarten teacher named David who makes him laugh and puts up with his ER stories and seems genuinely, effortlessly in love with him. I was the best man. Gave a speech about finding the real thing, and everyone clapped and I smiled, and inside I felt nothing but a vast, echoing envy for people who still believe love is worth the risk. At the reception, Marcus pulled me aside. You okay? Yeah, why? You just seem, I don't know, far away. I'm fine. Happy for you guys. Mark. He put his hand on my shoulder. It's been 3 years. Don't you think it's time to let someone in again? Really in. I let Rebecca in. No, you don't. You let her have access to your body and your weekends, but not your heart. There's a difference. Maybe I don't have a heart to give anymore. That's bullshit and you know it. You're just scared. Of course I'm scared. I gave everything to Sarah and she threw it away for a guy with a sailboat. Why would I ever do that again? Because the alternative is this. Being alone. Being safe. Being half alive. Half alive beats destroyed. He looked at me with something that might have been pity or might have been sadness. Does it, though? I didn't have an answer for him. Still don't. Rebecca and I broke up a month after Marcus's wedding. She said I was emotionally constipated, and she was tired of feeling like she was dating a very polite stranger. I didn't argue with her. She was right. Now it's been 3 years and 4 months since Sarah left with Derek from that party. 3 years and 4 months since I changed the locks and threw her things in the living room and became the kind of man who doesn't forgive. People at work think I'm married to my job. Friends worry about me but don't push too hard. My parents, who helped with the down payment on that house in Ballard, who loved Sarah like a daughter, have stopped asking when I'm going to get back out there. Everyone's given up on me becoming the man I was. They've accepted this new version. Competent, independent, fundamentally alone. And maybe that's okay. Maybe this is just who I am now. The man who took his wife to a party and watched her leave with someone else and decided that was the last time he'd ever be that vulnerable, that trusting, that fucking naive. Some stories don't have redemption arcs. Some wounds don't heal. They just become part of your landscape. Familiar territory you navigate around but never quite forget. I think about that night sometimes. Not the betrayal itself, but the moment before. Standing in my house at 7 p.m. in that navy suit, watching Sarah come down the stairs in the black dress, beautiful and doomed and already gone even though she was right in front of me. If I could go back, what would I do differently? Would I have confronted her before the party? Stayed in Denver? Never read those emails? The answer is nothing. I wouldn't change anything. Because the alternative, living in ignorance, being the fool who doesn't know his wife stopped loving him months ago, that's worse than the pain of knowing. At least this way I got to make the choice. I got to be the one who said no, who walked away, who refused to be the forgiving husband in someone else's redemption story. That has to count for something. Even if most days it just feels like nothing at all. I still have that photo from our wedding. The one where we're cutting the cake and laughing. It's in a box in my closet, along with our marriage certificate and the thank you cards we sent and all the other detritus of a life that doesn't exist anymore. I haven't opened that box in 2 years. Maybe I never will. Maybe when I die, someone will find it and wonder about these two young people who looked so happy, and they'll never know the whole story. They'll never know about Derek or Friday Harbor or the night everything shattered. Maybe that's better. Maybe the myth of what we were is kinder than the reality of what we became. But I know the truth. I carry it with me every day. In every relationship I don't quite commit to, in every wall I keep up, in every moment I choose safety over vulnerability. Sarah didn't just betray me. She taught me that love is a liability, that trust is a weakness, that the person who cares less has all the power. And I learned that lesson well. Too well, maybe, but I learned it nonetheless. So when people ask me why I'm still single, why I don't seem interested in settling down again, why I keep everyone at arm's length, I tell them I'm focused on my career, on myself, on building the life I want. What I don't tell them is that the life I want died 3 years and 4 months ago on a balcony in Fremont, when I stepped out of the shadows and confirmed what I already knew. What I don't tell them is that I'm not avoiding love. I'm avoiding the destruction that comes when love ends. And that's a lesson I'll carry for the rest of my life, whether I want to or not. My key still fits every lock in my condo. I make sure of that. I control the access, the boundaries, the walls that keep people out. Sarah's key doesn't fit anywhere anymore. And that's exactly how I want it.